A very welcome, big, warm welcome to the audience. My name is Hanna Beatrice. I'm a design writer and editor-in-chief of a Swedish title called Residence Magazine. It's an interiors magazine with a focus on architecture and design as well, and in particular Swedish and Scandinavian design scene. Today's panel discussion on the power of Scandinavian design and New Nordic is part of the Stockholm Design Talks, for which the overall title is Moving Forward. With this in mind, our focus in this session is on the contemporary design scene in Scandinavia. What distinguishes Scandinavian design today? What are our strengths and weaknesses? Can we even talk about a unifying Scandinavian design language? And also, how interesting is the Scandinavian market? And with this in mind, we're not a 100% Scandinavian panel, but rather a 50-50 Scandinavian and international panel. And I would like my great panelists to introduce themselves shortly. We're starting with you.
Okay. Hello, I'm called Amelie du Passage, and I'm representing a French company called Petite Friture, a manufacturing company. We've been existing for 5 years and being on the Scandinavian market for not quite a year now. What can I say? We're working with Scandinavian designers, which is why we are here today discussing, but also with international designers and first of all French as a French company. So that's about it.
Thank you. Renato?
My name is Renato Preti. I'm the founder of a company, Italian company called Discipline. And my story has been always in finance, but with a big passion for design. My family was owning a small design furniture company. So I decided there is a huge opportunity in design industry if you bring some innovation in this industry. And so I launched this company only 2 years ago. We are doing what our friends of Clayson Convisto Rune say, define Scandinavian design with some Italian tomato sauce on top, so more Mediterranean. And we are very happy about the response. So we are in 27 countries already after 2 years, and we are seeing the brand growing very fast in Scandinavian as well.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sandra Adrian Asplund, and I have worked as a creative director and production manager at Asplund, Asplund Collection and Asplund Store for 18 years. Yep.
My name is Roos. I'm the founder of One Nordic Furniture Company. 2 years ago, we showed a shaky pistache prototype here in Stockholm at a small exhibition at Skeppsholmen. And now we have 16 product families. We operate in over 30 countries, and it's been a great start. I'll tell more during the panel.
I just want to ask the audience first, can everyone hear us clearly? Very good. Tell us if we need to speak up. I want to start with the aesthetic point of view, Scandinavian design. Is there such a thing as a Scandinavian design aesthetic today in the contemporary design scene, when designers and producers work internationally and with many different companies and are distributed worldwide as well? Can you look at a product and say, wow, this is really Scandinavian? What is your view on this, Sandra?
Of course, there is this typical Scandinavian view, but it's a very different kind of view that we have ourselves on the Scandinavian design than foreigners have. When we started up showing our things internationally 20 years ago, people, or 15 years ago even, people were asking, they were saying, well, children's rooms furniture. That was the general view, or new design. they didn't really have a relation to the Scandinavian design except the old traditional, like Wegener and Anne Jacobsen and things like that. So, but today it's more defined because we are stronger on the market and stronger internationally.
And Renato, I loved that quote when we met, when you just found the discipline, which you just said, Scandinavian design with Italian pasta sauce. I think it might have been a Swedish designer who kind of had this discussion with you. You also choose to collaborate with some Scandinavian designers and do something that wasn't necessarily happening in the Italian market. So there must have been a view of this aesthetic of the Scandinavian design. Would you agree?
Yes, somehow, but I really think that there is more than a Scandinavian design. What's happening in the market now is a new trend versus contemporary design, which is the answer to the crisis. And I think the reason why this is so strong in Scandinavia is because the general mood in Scandinavia, the economics, the politics, etc., are already in a post-crisis mood. So we come here and we see the people that are full of energy, are making a lot of plans, they are innovating, they are investing. In Italy, which is the traditional alternative to Scandinavian design, everybody is depressed. Everybody is very
comment, Renato, here in between. I think for Sweden, you're right, but Finland, we're all with you. In Italy, we have still a depressive mood there.
Yeah, but you breathe Sweden and Norway air. So there is a huge difference in the mood. So I think that's why Scandinavian has been faster to understand the trends, which I think is not versus a Scandinavian or Japanese or Italian design, but it's versus simplicity, functionality, quality, natural materials, is what we all feel we need after the crazy time of the last 10 years of the beginning of the century, with artistic design, over design, etc. So when I say Scandinavian design with Italian tomato sauce, I just saying that there is a mood about, not just a specific style. And I think that we always take inspiration from Italian cuisine, not Scandinavian cuisine. Our products want to be like a beautiful dish of spaghetti with pesto, or simple, healthy, but very exciting. And that I think what people is looking for now.
Amelie, what do you think? Do you collaborate with a Scandinavian designer thinking you will get a certain aesthetic?
Yeah, it's not necessarily aesthetic, but more the fact that Scandinavian designers, or in Scandinavia, you feel that design is in everyday life, is in the DNA, really. And so the language, the discussion you have with a designer over here is very direct, has a strong feeling of the functionality, of how it's going to be used, of the market, and this I feel you find in many products, in all the brands. It's close to people, and this is where French people, Italian people, we have been for long thinking that design is about beautiful stuff, but forgetting maybe that it also has to be functional. And here you can feel it.
I'm quite interested in the slogan, which it almost has become in New Nordic. When you search on it on Google, you get 17 million hits if you Google on New Nordic design. But what does it exactly mean? Is it really an aesthetic, or is it more of a sales pitch? I was thinking about you using the word Nordic also in your name. Does that also work internationally in a different way, making making a different interest in buying your products?
It definitely does, but you have to remember that Nordic is more than just, something specific. You have Finland, you have Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Iceland. They're very different. So you can really use the culture of all these countries when you travel abroad. For example, in Japan, they just love Finnish people and the Finnish culture, which is a good thing. And maybe in the US, Sweden, I think is quite interesting. So in that sense, I believe that it's a large definition that is understood in different ways around the world, and it definitely helps for example, a Finnish company. So we're perceived as hardworking, trustworthy, and it's a good position to be in. So I think it really helps also from the perspective of a company to come from the Nordics, definitely.
But when you set up the company, was it a main drive to have this Nordic feel, only work and be very connected to the Nordic region? Or was it a different drive that made you start the company?
Well, yeah, definitely it was a kind of a connection to the Nordics that started it. We also use non-Nordic designers, but that is to get kind of a deeper perspective on Nordic design. We have a lounge chair by Luca Nichetto, and we really asked him for kind of his perspective on the Nordics, and I think that gives a nice dimension to a Nordic brand.
Mm. And what about, what do you think, Sandra? Asplund was very strong in the 90s in this wave of Swedish and Scandinavian design promoted very much in the UK by Wallpaper and so on. How do you feel the interest has changed since then, and the consumer as well? Are they asking for new Nordic?
In the 90s, there were almost no presence of Scandinavian or Swedish or furniture at all internationally. We were a small group of 5 small companies, like 2-3 person companies and so on, exhibiting in Milan together under a name called Sweetcoat, like a joint venture. And the only other company, I think, was Lammhults, a contract company. So you all know about Lammhults. So the definition of Scandinavian was something new. There was something unexpected. So we were so happy being a young company, having like from the new picks from the Salone on under A, it was like Asplund. But it was so new and fresh. But it was also under. You didn't have these. You didn't have the satellite. You didn't have the green rooms. You didn't have anything else about the heavy Italian brands. So it was such a big difference on the market. But it's a big difference being a new upcoming and then being a settled company that really sells and brings out furniture to the everyday life for people. And I feel that now the second wave has come and all the Scandinavian companies are more settled. They are more respected, more, so it's more a real life thing, if you can say so.
Renato, looking from the outside, what do you think has been this second wave, the drive of this second wave, looking at Scandinavia today? What companies are we looking at, and what are they doing that are good?
I think that behind the trend there is always a lifestyle. So what I think it's winning people like is not just the style, but is the lifestyle that is behind this. In Italy, in the 50s, we have the Cinquecento or the Vespa that was representative of new lifestyle, very full of joy, a bit crazy, etc. I think now in Scandinavia you have a lifestyle which is interesting for all the world because it represents a solution also for the middle class. I don't know, you're probably aware that there is a study that says that in the world, especially in Italy or in emerging countries, the difference between the rich and the poor is so big, like only before the French Revolution or in 1929. I think that Nordic design is an answer to an aspiration of a lifestyle which is quality but affordable, simplicity but full of joy. And this is the kind of style we want also to develop with discipline. And of course, we find very easily to talk with a designer from Scandinavia like Clayson Kovistorume or like Lars Beller in Norway. Because when we talk with these friends of ours, we see that they are looking into a project. They are talking about something that has to be a long-term success, a long-term big project. While when we are talking with Italians, they are looking tomorrow. The story of discipline is only about natural materials, for instance. We send out a briefing to some Scandinavian designers, but also French, UK, Germans, and Italians. And we received the feedback which was perfectly in line with what we were looking, in line with our briefing, from people from Scandinavia or from Germany, etc. From Italy, we received something that's nothing to do. I've got an idea. Who cares about the idea? We want the background, we want the story, we want the project. Somebody even sent us a project in plastic, but then it's all about natural materials. So I think this is the example now. Here there is a project behind the new Nordic feeling, which reflects a lifestyle, and that is very exciting for people who looks at it. While in Italy, companies and designers are looking what's happening tomorrow. They're trying to sell a bit more to the Russian, but it's not a project.
What do you think, Amelie? Is there a difference working with the Scandinavian designers? So can you generalize and French or other international designers?
Yeah, for sure. There's a different culture. I mean, you can feel it often comes from the schools themselves as well. That lead to a proper discussion with industrials after. What I mean is that we're talking about business. We're wanting to do business with a high idea of design as well, because I think both are possible. And sometimes with designers, maybe I don't know, the Netherlands, for example, I'd say you're more in an artistic project. When you're in Scandinavia, you're talking about business, and the designers are the first ones to feel concerned about it. Sometimes it's surprising for a French person to come over, because not everybody's like that, even in France. It's coming. You can feel it's coming. And now you have a real discussion with more and more with designers about also money. What I mean is that a project from the initial idea to when it gets to the market, of course, has loads of changes linked to technically, is it going to be possible? Is it going to be costly? And in the end, to have a right price so that people will be able to buy it, because that's the aim. And you feel here that you're speaking the same language, so there's no problem with that. Whereas sometimes in other countries, you have to convince, which is not very easy for an industrial to do.
If I can comment there, I'd say that also there's a huge distinction between Finnish designers, Swedish, which we have noticed. Maybe it's more artistic when it comes to a Finnish designer. They're very caught up with their heritage. Same maybe goes for the Danish. Whilst the Swedish designers, they're really thinking, commercially. So you can see a difference there as well. Yeah. I mean, there are good and bad sides in all of this, but definitely the distinctions between the countries.
Inside Scandinavia, there are differences as well. Yeah, of course. Sorry.
Totally agree.
You agree as well? Yeah. I'm interested to look at the last 10 years and the market. If the Scandinavian brands also have affected, mentioning price, the price level, and also maybe reaching out to a younger audience. Would you agree to this?
Oh yeah, for sure. in the same way, this is what Renato was saying. We're speaking about a lifestyle, so
Yeah.
you're really getting into a brand, and you have a total offer. I mean, you could live Hey, you could live Muto, you could live your different brands, and so it's a real suggestion for everyday life, but in a way that's design, of course, but also decorative. I mean, you feel comfortable with it. It's not intimidating, and then once you want to buy, you can also buy it. So yeah, there's a real that's quite new, I think. Well, not so new now, but for 10 years ago, it was quite new.
Sorry. There's another interesting thing to be noticed. All Scandinavian brands and discipline have a collection which is done by furniture, but also a lot of accessories.
Yeah.
These help to have a continuous relationship with your clients, because you can buy chairs or a sofa once every 10 years, but you buy a small object, a candle holder, a toy, whatever, vase, for a present or every day. And if you look in the industry, you can see that practically all Scandinavian, like Muto, Norman Copenhagen, Hey, etc., ourselves, we have a lot of accessories for this reason, because it's a way to explain, to talk with the people, to develop a brand identity. While if you look at the traditional Italian companies, they only have furniture. It's not the way to develop this kind of identity that you want really to have.
But I definitely think that Hey has done really well there, because they don't have a huge gap. You know, they have some of the brands have accessories that are like €2, and then they have a leather couch which is 10,000 euros, and it doesn't work. Hey has managed to find a balance between the furniture price and the accessory price, which I think is very important as well.
It's also a very big difference in the way the companies are constructed. These new Danish companies has a way of working that accessories companies does, but most Swedish furniture companies has the traditional way of working, while you order for each customer, and the production is on order. So it's a huge difference.
Yeah, it's a different.
We don't keep everything in stock.
And also, you can see a sad trend, especially in the Nordics, where the kind of low-end brands, they're marketing so much in mainstream medias, the biggest newspapers. Every weekend there's like a campaign, sofa, 99 krones. And this kind of destroys the perception of the value of items. We hear a lot, that 200 euros for a chair is like hugely expensive for a customer who might be quite wealthy. So I think there's also, this is a little bit of a problem on the market, that people have a very strange perception of what a certain item of furniture could be worth.
Today, there's a lot of brands, really considering the price tags, and there's for example, a Swedish brand, promoting themselves as a Scandinavian publisher that aims to lower their prices for some of their products with 30% through finding good distribution. Is there a danger of lowering prices too much? What do you think?
I think it's very dangerous. I think that affordable price must be connected to these new trends in design, because the design is simpler, because there is no over design and no crazy design, etc. And also because the approach that we all share is to become big. I think that the common denominator of all, let's say, new Nordic or new Italian brands is a project to become a strong player, not a niche player doing limited editions or this kind of things. And this allows, of course, prices to go down. So this makes sense. Quality, but functionality, simplicity, big volumes to be able to have interesting, affordable price. Vice versa, I think it's very dangerous if we start a race versus the lower price, because then, of course, you start producing in China, you start producing in Indonesia, the quality go down, the service go down, etc. And then you end up competing with IKEA, which is completely another story. It's like if Prada or Gucci or Louis Vuitton compete with Zara. Fantastic. I love Zara or H&M. That's a different story. You might mix
Yeah.
according to your
Yeah.
mood, etc. But you don't have to mix up the two things, otherwise you are dead. And as it was saying, people will not understand anymore the difference, the value that is behind the quality that you are selling.
I completely agree. I think it's a dangerous way that maybe Hay is also working with, Asian production in huge quantities, which I mean, the level of quality is still very important, at least for our clients, and we want to emphasize that we, use the local markets to produce our goods and keep the level of design and quality in the items good. And I think in the long run this is something that consumers will appreciate. It's not about cheap prices, it's about reasonable prices, and this is kind of something we want to find our way. We're not there yet, but we really want to find that reasonable price level that people are willing to pay, but that's not cheap.
Do you feel there is any other side effects of this hype of Nordic and Scandinavian designs? Do you think producers are looking to collaborate only with Scandinavians or more Scandinavians, and it become, or that they produce products that has a Scandi feel, that we will see more sameness? What do you think, Amelie? That we will see more products developed in the same way, or the same color schemes, or this more of the same type of aesthetic? What do you think, Amelie?
Well, yeah, there is a risk. I mean, you can see that there are many brands developing the same kind of aesthetics, but at the same time, that's all a question of challenging the designers as well, and that are totally able to do something very nice and different. And but it's true. It's true in Scandinavia, but it's true everywhere. I mean, when you design a chair, you have to challenge. You have to challenge because there are just so many existing. So there's no point releasing a new one if it's not different. Yeah, there is a risk, but at the same time, there are good ideas to be taken. So,
if I may comment here, I think this is about finding your own style.
yeah.
For example, for us, I mean, standing over there, our creative director, Petrus Palmer, he's kind of found a way for us to be, find our own style. And I think this is important with very strong creative lead. Find your own way and don't kind of copy the other Nordic brands or the general Scandi feel. I don't think it's going to lead long for certain smaller brands that clearly are looking at, for example, Muto and Hay and thinking that let's go pastel and let's do this and this is the way to go. You have to find your own path, I believe.
Well, I think that Nordic, again, or new Italian design is a lot about natural materials, and there are so many natural materials. Plastic is plastic. Sorry for cartel, but plastic is only plastic. You can change the color. But natural materials, you have so many. You have cork, you have copper, you have brass, you have many kind of woods, you have metals, you have really leather, textile. So really there is no limit to the fantasy, to the possibility to develop and innovate this kind of style. As again, making the comparison I love with Italian cuisine, we have, when you say pasta, we have something like 1,500 kind of different pasta. They're all fantastic, but they're all different, so you can go all your life changing kind of pasta every day. So I think there is a huge, long, fantastic future for this kind of style.
What do you think, Sandra, having had the shop and working as a producer for quite some time? How can you see the change?
Well,
Is there more sameness, or is it?
Well, first of all, I think that all trends end sometime. Well, so if there is the trend gets too wide and too widely spread, and if there's no content in the trend, they will finally end. It's very important, as you all said, to keep your own identity and do make things with your gut that you really care for and that you really love, and that actually, I think truly that design should be for all, but if it gets too common and too cheap, people keep on buying. Not that they buy things that they can afford, but they buy things that they can afford twice or 10 times. They shift, they throw it away. I think that good design is about lasting products, and lasting products both in quality, both that you know that someone has done this, and they are well-being, and that you can keep it. You love it. Your eye loves it. Your eyes loves it. So it's very important for me, and I hope that the market will follow. I don't know.
How do you see? You both are fairly new on the market in Sweden, and how do you see the Scandinavian market reaching out? I mean, we are, apart from Austria in European Union, we spend the most in Sweden on furnitures. Is it a very interesting market for you?
Yes, I mean, for sure. It's a very interesting market because it's mature in some way. I mean, very responsive to design. At the same time, it's a challenge because you have already a lot of lovely brands, and also I feel that the Scandinavian market is looking for something new, but at the same time for references that is close to what they're used to the culture. And so I don't know very much what that means because I'm not Scandinavian, but you can feel it. I mean, with all the fair, there are common references, and so that's the challenge for a brand that comes on the Scandinavian market. It's just kind of speak the same language.
One interesting thing, actually, from private persons that we get requests from, France is one of the highest amounts of people that contact us. But
Same for us.
it's crazy.
Really?
The interest has been awoken. I don't know.
So the other way around. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
For sure.
Nordic design is huge in France.
Well,
But there are hardly no stores that
No.
sells them. Yeah. So it's very strange.
difficult.
Yeah.
What do you think, Renato, about our market?
Yeah,
I mean, you're available in many countries, but is this...
We are doing very well. We started only a few months ago, but we are doing really very well. Scandinavian is now our #1 market, together with Australia and UK. The market is very professional, so we love very much to work with Scandinavian partners. And the structure of distribution is very much in line with what we are doing, because there are a lot of design shops, accessory shops, etc. So you find your distribution according to what you want to do. Of course, we are trying to say there is new Nordic design, there is just one Italian, so it's one Italian against all the other ones. If you want to buy, of course, it's a bit aggressive, but we try to do.
But is it easier to attract the Scandinavian or Swedish consumer if you have a Scandinavian designer in your catalog? What do you think, Amelie? Have you felt that? You were mentioning earlier, coming here and meeting the press.
Yeah, no, we came to the different designers we have in the collection. So Claes and Torun, we started with Jens Fege right from the beginning. And to be honest, with all these collaborations came up as Jens, I came to him because I really liked his work, not thinking Scandinavia at all. And Claes and Torun, it was more a meeting of personalities at first, and we came to the project. But now we're here. I realize that it has been, of course, a great chance to be able to count on all these designers to be on the market. And also, this is very Scandinavian. The way the designers are very in the promotion of their products and of the brand alongside. When we came here, our first presentation was last autumn, and we could count on all the designers to be there alongside. So
Is
yeah,
this
it
not
did help.
the same in other countries? Or?
It's sometimes, but not necessarily feeling so concerned. Yeah, the partnership is sometimes not so tight.
What's your experience with working with the Scandinavian designers? Are they very good at what Amelie mentioned with the promotion and are they very good at that part?
I'd say they're excellent. So we kind of see them as brand ambassadors because they really, they really buy into because we start our processes talking about, design, talking about our vision, their vision. So we use a lot of time together before we even start the project. And after that, when it's finished, you can really feel that they feel that it's theirs, they're part of our journey, and I think that's super important to find that kind of designers that are kind of suitable for your brand and have a great brand themselves.
Yeah, but is that something that has changed within the last couple of years, or was it the same 15 years ago?
Swedish people has always been quite outgoing, but not always as like before they didn't dare to talk for themselves. They could be social, whatever, but that showing your portfolio was nothing you did like that. They had to book a meeting and everything. But I think that now they're more pushy. Like
I was thinking
more like Americans.
I was thinking about reaching out and the distribution and the e-commerce. How do you work with that kind of distribution, and how is? I know that you founded the company very much as trying to reach out in a different way with great distribution via e-commerce. How is that developing? Is Scandinavia a good country for that?
Yeah, I think it's a great starting point because people are used to buying goods online. But I think the point is that that's just one channel. The good thing is that you can have several channels. You have great architects that you can work with. You find nice shops. You have retailers that are really good for your brand. So it's kind of a multi-channel thing that you need to be looking into in the modern world. That's my view on the subject.
What about you, Renato?
Yeah, I totally agree that the world now is and has to be multi-channel, and that all the channels help each other. There is no competition. People who buys online will not buy on a shop and vice versa, but the two channels help each other. So we totally believe in multi-channel distribution. We have our own e-commerce, but it is only for, let's say, continental Europe. And now we are discussing a partnership with a local entity to have also e-commerce capacity in Scandinavia.
But is the e-commerce less strong than the shops? You still all need the shops.
Yeah, for sure.
If you work with quality, yes.
Yes, and I agree. All channels are important and nourish each other as long as there's no competition on prices. If the web shops respect the fact that the price level is the same.
Yeah, I think that's very important that you're super transparent with your pricing, and you cannot compete, with another channel. I agree that it's a kind of a 360 approach that people need to be able to find your brand in the shop they used to buy furniture in. They need to find it when they Google online. You need to have a really nice website with the possibility to buy. It's catering, different kind of consumers with different kind of consumer behavior. So the world is kind of it's a scattered place, and you need to really try to cater all different types of clients. I think that, for example, Amazon is great at this. They have so many ways of kind of exiting the site, how you buy on the web shop. But one consumer will only see the thing that they're used to. But there are tens and tens of ways of, you know, of buying on Amazon. And this is, I think, really important, that you need to kind of cater consumers that behave differently in a modern world. I think the furniture industry is extremely conservative, and in certain places it's just, you know, stuck in time. That's a fact, because the companies, they do not respect the modern consumer, and this is something that we have looked a lot upon. That how does how is a consumer thinking when they have a need for furniture? What will they do? Will they go to their favorite blog? Will they read their favorite magazine? Will they go to their favorite shop, or will they just Google sofa? Or what is the way? And I think the answer here is that there are different ways. People are very different and have certain patterns. And you need to be in all of those channels in order to be relevant in all medias.
But you grew up in a family running one of Finland's main shops for high-end furniture, and you saw this change in the consumer behavior.
Yes.
People walking into the shop, getting some advice, and then going back, buying it online. Yes. How has that affected that shop, your family business? Is it still? Do they have to change direction? Do you think the shops and update the way they act?
Definitely. I think that this kind of high-end shops, they need to cater people who require a lot of service. If it's about, you know, selling Minotti and these top brands, this kind of clientele, they won't be the ones that go, buying online. They want good service. They want excellent, interior help in their homes. They want the logistics to function perfectly. So you need to think, what is your business? Maybe 10, 15 years ago, this kind of shop could also, try to make some volume models, maybe make 30 sofas with a cheaper fabric and try to sell that. But I think nowadays it's these kind of business models need to find their new way of functioning in this world. And then again, when it comes to maybe more affordable design and accessories and stuff like that, then the web, of course, is becoming a more and more important channel. However, having said that, we can really see a trend that also furniture it's moving online. I like to talk about also, different kind of categories of furniture, which furniture people are kind of willing to buy online without seeing, because there are people who actually buy sofas online without even seeing them. I don't think I would do that myself yet, but there are people who do that. Yeah. But I'd say that the majority of people, they still want to kind of touch and feel, try, and you need to provide these kind of opportunities for the clients.
But do you think, Sandra, what's your strategy online for Asplund?
We have just started up in a small scale just to figure out what it's all about. It's both.
But people still go into the shop for the
furniture.
They
still do, but they're more demanding, and they think that they know a lot more. And they sometimes they say, if I don't get a discount, I will spread your word on social media. There are so many backsides, but there are so many good sides as well. So they could easily look up the things. You don't have to print tons of catalogs. No. You don't have, it's easier to see where you can buy them and so on. And we work both as a shop and we have retailers. So we try to be very. We have tried to take care of our retailers because we don't want to compete with them. So we are quite. We're not aggressive online, but we'll do a small thing.
I think that the trend is more and more to have quality service. So whether it is in a shop where you can touch, ask for advice, put together different styles, etc. You want a service. You want a reason why to go in that store and obtain what you're looking for. The same thing is online. Makes sense to buy online if you get a service, if you can learn about the brand, learn about the designers, the story. You can browse, make comparison, etc. If you get fast delivery in 2-3 days, and then of course it's nice that you can buy online 24 hours. But I don't understand certain e-commerce that do not have stock, do not have service. So you go online, then you buy something and said, okay, you will receive it in 60 days. That is doesn't make sense.
And that's very bad for brands like us as well, because they are promising products from our brand. So and then they're bad, but the perception of the final consumer is that you're deceptive as well. So that's a real problem.
Bad, yeah.
One thing that we haven't touched upon is where we produce and the production. Is that important? For example, being Scandinavian, is a Scandinavian production important, or do you feel you can produce anywhere the same quality and still have that Scandinavian feel for you, Sandra, for example?
The core is that it's produced correctly. As I said before, I want the people who makes it to have a decent salary, a decent job. They're not exposed to chemicals or whatever. Then the other things comes in, like the Swedish tradition of manufacturing. And let's take Denmark. They have, in a very short time, they have more than halved the number of employees in the furniture industry. And at the same time, the Danish company is more prosperous than ever. And it's quite sad, because it's a skill that passes really. And I see less and less Swedish companies developing in technology because of this as well. So it's.
But Sweden still, which is really interesting, the last 10 years, the production of furniture has gone up 26%, which is very interesting. Where do you produce?
We produce in Sweden, Finland, and the Baltics, and for us it's about also the manufacturing and the actual factory and the people behind it, because we would love to produce everything in Finland, but it's not possible. One thing is that we see a lack of heart also in the field. The production facility manager says that today I'll go at 4 and that's it, and it's not going to be ready, and the quality is they don't give a damn about the quality. They just want it done and want our money and stuff like that. But you can find in the Baltics these fantastic persons who they have heart in what they do, and they don't accept it. No, I'm not going to give it to you. It's not good enough quality. It doesn't go with my values or production. So I think it's a lot about that you need to find production facilities that share the same passion that you have, but still are able to produce at a price that makes your products still possible to sell in this category of reasonable pricing. Because what we've seen in many of maybe the Finnish companies that have tried to go international, when they order 3 chairs, it doesn't make sense. They buy 3 chairs, the buying price is crazily high, they put a margin on, and their chair is more expensive than a high-end Italian brand's chair. And the story ends pretty much there. So it's about finding a possibility of buying at a pretty good rate and still buy reasonable volumes already from the beginning. I think that gives you the possibility of growth.
Renato, do you produce in Italy?
We produce everything in Italy, with the exception of the glass mouse blown, which is produced in the Czech Republic. And of course we will continue to produce made in Italy.
Is that important to the brand to be made in Italy?
It's important to establish a partnership with your producer, which is not just the production itself, but also the way you develop the new product, the new project, the prototype, the changes, the details, etc. So if you establish a partnership, it has to be a long-term partnership. And then, of course, as I was saying, we are all, I think, working to become big. In this way, we can obtain better pricing, better costs. It's impossible to have low costs when you have 100 pieces. If you obtain low costs in China, it's only because the quality has been compromised. But at the same time, if you produce thousands of pieces, then you get the reasonable cost in Italy as well. So I think it's a false myth that you can get better price going on the Far East. You get lower quality and then you pay for it in the long term.
Trying to summarize this slightly, looking at what we've talked about today, how do you see the Scandinavian or Nordic or design scene develop? How do you see it develop, Sandra, the next 5 years? In what direction is it heading?
I think and would like to believe that, as I said before, the consistency of furniture. You see also in Italy, you see the importance of storytelling about how things are produced. If furniture is cheap, somebody has to pay for it. If it's not you, it's someone else. And this goes together that the furniture is see-through in some way. You see what it's made of, and you get what you're paying for. It's not gold, but it's wood, or what it's nature's materials, and it's real stuff. I think people are into that, not showing off, and that has been the Swedish and Scandinavian theme all along. So,
what do you think, Amelie?
I don't know. I think there is a trend around Scandinavia, but I think I agree. There's also something very solid in as I said, in the DNA of being reasonable, and this is going to last and is also very good for internationally to just calm things down and keeping products you want to live with for a long time, that you're going to buy a reasonable price and with strong partnerships. And I think, and of course a strong identity, or else you don't exist. And I think that's the good mix. Some Scandinavian designers and brands have understood, and that's interesting and will last.
What do you think, Renato? Will the traditional Italian design scene change, and how will it affect the European design scene as a whole?
I don't see many changes now in Italian industry. I think that there are a few companies, of course, that are following the trends, but unfortunately the industry is still very conservative in Italy. But also depends, as I was saying, of the general mood in Italy, which is very, very depressed. What I think, and I hope for Italy, but also for our industry, is that what is happening now is something like what happened in French or Italian fashion 50 years ago. At the beginning, fashion was for very rich people, Valentino, Yves Saint Laurent, haute couture. Then it started to become more democratic, and everybody can afford Armani jeans. I hope that this is the trend, that people all over the world will look for disciplined products, new Nordic, Asplund, Petite Friture, because they like that brands and they can afford it, but it still gives them a lot of pleasure. I think this is, I hope, the trend.
What do you think, Joel? How will the market look in 5 years' time, and also the Scandinavian?
Well, first of all, I see a great future for especially these 4 brands. But in addition to that, I think we're going to see, these reasonable priced Nordic brands. They're going to take the market share of IKEA. People will start paying a little bit more for design. So I see, Hey, Muta, brands like us, we are the ones that will prosper within 5 years. I'm quite certain of that. that.
But how will it affect the other brands then? Do you see? Will we start producing differently, and see many more new brands also trying to go in the same direction?
I don't think we're going to see a lot more brands. As we all know, it's a tough job to take, a furniture brand up and running. But
I wouldn't recommend anyone.
no. But when you're here, it's fantastic. But the beginning is hard. But so I don't think we're going to see many brands. I think the ones that are on the market will grow stronger over time. I loved what you said about transparency, quality. People will find their way of buying design, and I really believe this. And in combination with taking it e-commerce, so quality and e-commerce, I think the future is there.
I want to take the opportunity to see if someone in the audience have a question. Is there anyone that want to ask anything? Or otherwise you can probably catch them here just after. Should we finish there, or do you have something more you want to add about being here in the Stockholm Furniture Fair yesterday and today, and how the mood is in general in the Scandinavian halls?
Well, it's a first participation for Petite Friture over here, so it's very interesting. Well, to meet the dealers, to understand a bit more how it works, and it's very. We've just finished Maison en Objet, so we've got a direct comparison with
That's right.
with the fair over there, and it's just very different. We have more time here to discuss with people, which is very good, and yeah, you can feel it's a local but very strong market. So. Yeah.
And you don't exhibit here in the halls, but you have in the city instead.
Yes,
But you've had a great response last night.
we have a space at Nordiska Gallery, just for us, a big space. We had fantastic response yesterday night and opened the next days. And what struck me is that apparently Italy and Sweden are very different, but we feel home.
Yeah.
We have a lot of friends here, and we feel very comfortable in Nordiska Gallery, which is not as common as it should be. So we really feel there is a lot of good feeling between
nice.
Italian and Swedish.
Very nice. And how has the response been for you two yesterday and today?
I was in the shop fixing spotlights.
The hard work.
I have no idea.
And for you?
Let's see today.
The response has been great. We're here at the fair, A0720. Welcome all of you. And then we're in the city at a really great fashion store called A Place, and having a pop-up store for a couple of weeks. So that's also a very nice small extra thing we're doing here. But in general, I feel that the market is really growing, and there's a positive atmosphere, and everybody coming to the stand seem to be in a good and happy mood, so we're happy about that.
That's fantastic. Big applause to the great panel, and thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.